Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Tuesday, thank you so much for being Up+Adam, a special true crime Tuesday, local. It's the kind of story that stays with you. A young man named Thomas Jodry falls from a parking structure in San Luis Obispo, but was this just a fall? His parents, William and Mary Jane, they don't think so. What followed a 6-year fight for answers, a gut-wrenching trail of dismissed lawsuits, missing footage, and this shadowy presence of one man, David Knight. Now, despite everything they've uncovered, including disturbing past convictions and chilling encounters, the system has effectively silenced the Jodrys, but they haven't gone quiet. Later in the show, we're going to be joined by William and Mary Jane on the heels of the 6th anniversary of losing Tommy. Also, we're going to be joined by forensic psychologist Dr. Leslie Dobson, who's lending her clinical firepower to what many believe is a failure of justice. We're going to talk about what they know, what they can and can't legally do, and why Knight's name keeps circling the story. If you've ever wanted to know how to break open a case that's been feels like it's been locked shut, this is going to be a conversation to hear. All right, before we get into our conversation, right into it, I want to tell you about the 41st Annual Central Coast Writers Conference. I'm excited they're Up+Adam. I'm excited to be involved. I'm going to be out there hosting a workshop, leading a workshop. What do you call it? Called The Art of the Interview. So this is happening at Cuesta College, September 26th and 27th. And whether you're a writer, podcaster, journalist, someone who's had this desire in your heart to tell that story, write that book, put together that memoir, the theme of the Writers' Conference is perfect. 2 words. It's time. And it's so perfect. You got to get involved. This conference is stacked from best-selling authors, screenwriters, keynotes, editors, poets, publishers, 2 full days, feedback sessions, creative energy that you can't afford to miss out on if this desire is burning inside you. Like the theme says, it's time. Links in the show notes. Check it out. CentralCoastWritersConference.com.
It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, this True Crime Tuesday, we're joined by William and Mary Jane Jodry, friends of the show, 2 parents who didn't get a knock on the door from police when something happened to their kid, but from a grown man they barely knew, holding their son's phone with blood on it. Their son, Tommy, had died earlier, falling from the San Luis Obispo parking structure on Marsh under circumstances that still remain unclear and, frankly, unacceptable. The system closed the file, but the questions, well, they never stopped. Why was David Knight, a man nearly 30 years older than Tommy, in his life? Why has he never been fully investigated? Why was key footage missing? Why does it still feel like not enough people are talking about this? Now, what you'll hear first is a raw, intimate conversation between the Jodrys and forensic psychologist Dr. Leslie Dobson. Just them talking, unpacking kind of what happened, how they've coped, what the system has refused to see. A longer version of that conversation will eventually be featured on Dr. Dobson's podcast, Intentionally Disturbing, on iHeart. But today, we share an extended clip, one full of real truth, unanswered questions, and the kind of just raw honesty that rarely makes it into headlines. Then I'll step in. We'll go even deeper with the Jodrys and Dr. Dobson into kind of what comes next, what justice could still look like. Let's welcome William and Mary Jane Jodry, also Dr. Leslie Dobson, Up+Adam.
And why do we let people like David Knight continue to walk along? David Knight was prosecuted in a felony case. The kid was 13 to 15. For 2 years, he molested this kid. The parents pressed charges. He was charged with a felony, convicted of a felony, and he was supposed to spend good time in jail and also go register as a sex offender. And the family moved out of the area. They said, we're done with this area. We've done our thing. We're tired. We're leaving. We're going to start a new life.
Yeah.
The next year, on year one, he got the female probation officer to stand up for him in court and say, he looks like he's just, really changed and he really feels bad and blah, blah, blah. And can't we just change this to a misdemeanor? And the judge says, well, let's see what the family has to say. They weren't there. So he goes, well, since they've left and nobody really knows any different, we could do that, sure. But he's going to be on probation for 2 more years. 2 years later, same probation officer, but he did get a new attorney, a guy who advertises in the New Times in San Luis Obispo, Jeffrey Stein, and he says that he can get people off the sex offenders list, represented him in court, and got his record expunged.
We are in a tiny town here, and the same thing is happening. And it doesn't make sense.
No.
So we need to continue to hold them accountable. And so everyone listening, it's on you to help us. But I think one thing that stands out for me is that they've handcuffed you from doing anything further.
Well,
so now it falls upon us.
And we're so glad you're here.
So tell me about the handcuffing.
Well, the answer to your other question is, what did they do?
Well, I refuse to be handcuffed. I'm sorry.
But you are legally
I'm handcuffed.
fucked if you do anything.
Well, I refuse to look the other way. If I have somebody that comes to my door and they tell me things that have happened to them, I'm going to listen. I'm going to give them information of where to go. I've had people notify me. I had a young man at Costco last year who told me, he goes, I know who you are. I said, really? He goes, yeah, you're Mary Jane Jodry, right? I said, yes. He says, I see you in here shopping. And he goes, I know this guy has been in here and he keeps coming to my booth and talking to me and he keeps buying me presents, like a little hat, because I complimented him on his hat. So he bought me one just like it. And he said, if it wasn't for you and knowing what happened to your son
and our flyer,
I wouldn't know what happened. And he said, you kind of saved me there. Then I've had other people. There's another one that I really can't talk about. I think I told you a little bit about it earlier. That guy, I advised them to go to the Atascadero Police Department with the information. So the family went to the Atascadero Police Department. And then there was a third one at a winery. This lady told us about a family member that didn't live too far away from him that she was concerned about.
So signs...
I don't care. You know what? I am a human being. I am never going to let some predator just keep, I'm going to always talk.
But I think it's important for us to explain to the audience what legally they
right. Do you want me to
try and
explain that, Mary
silence
Jane?
you.
They did try. Yeah.
Well,
they have.
They have to in certain ways. Mm-hmm. Now, we had the civil lawsuit. They terminated the civil lawsuit. We had spent way over $80,000, $200,000 of our own money investigating it ourselves, hiring private investigators, hiring lawyers, billboards on the freeways, full-page articles in ads in local newspapers. And remember, this was during COVID, so it was hard to get anything.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get a hold of a newspaper sometimes. Never mind trying to get a photograph of him, things like that. All kinds of stuff, printing millions, let's say tens of thousands of flyers, that we were distributing, basically just trying to get information, tracking down, having to get court orders because the police department, everybody ignores subpoenas. So you have to get court orders, more expensive, so that we can get the videos and the body cam. And then they got nobody's name at the scene, so we got, we started
Let's take a moment to just mention but there are videos of dozens of people who witnessed all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And none of you have come forward.
Well, they have, actually.
There's been a few, and they've been depositioned.
A few.
But
there were people, dozens of people.
Yeah, there were.
In a small town. And all we have to do is get a hacker and AI to run your face to figure out who you are.
That would be great.
So I suggest maybe they just come forward on their own before we come find them
Because their
as a
faces are
social
very
media
clear
mob.
on those videos.
Especially the guys in the bar. We've always tried to get those
There
guys
were men in the bar watching
Yes.
Tommy take those drinks.
And he was right next to them the whole time. And he left shortly after Tommy and Knight left.
And they turned their heads both on each side of them when something was going on. Like it got their attention and they turned their heads and they listened for a bit and then they went back to their business. And we're like, what was going on? What did you hear? And we've never been able to identify those people, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we will.
Wonderful.
And the videos will be on my website. They will be on YouTube, and your faces will be there. Live on the right side of justice.
Some of the people, even as recently as this past year, we posted those screenshots I did from the police body cams and car cams. Some of them, they did contact us. And even one lady that we were trying so hard, and she saw our screenshot on
Facebook or something.
On Facebook, group site down in actually Santa Barbara County. And she contacted us and told us what she saw. And what she saw, well, sometimes we just want to fill in the puzzle of what happened that night. Not everybody's, actually, the minute Tommy fell, we haven't had a witness that saw.
Yes, we did. We had that one guy.
He did not see Tommy fall. Okay.
He saw him falling.
He did not. Yes, Mary Jane.
And he saw him land.
That was on the outside of the parking structure. We don't have anybody that saw Tommy falling from the inside of the parking structure.
But what you do have is this phantom limb syndrome. You don't have conclusion. You don't have justice. You don't have closure because you don't know how he died.
We don't know why he died and what made him fall. But let's just say David Knight wasn't with him the minute he fell. Let's say that, because that possibility always exists. If you don't have a witness,
because Tommy was running from him out of fear.
And he was highly intoxicated and possibly drugged,
concussed.
He could have fallen for just looking over the edge to see if Knight was down there, and he could have fallen. Those walls and those cables were broken right there where he fell. And
it does show that he was hanging on for dear life with his
fingerprints
hands.
are on the wall.
His footprints were on the outside. He was trying to climb back.
Trying to get over the wall.
And his shoe fell off. His big toe was separated from his toe from trying to climb up so hard. So, and they did say in the one video that we kept after and after.
That the police held back from us.
I said, I need the one from Parsons. Officer Parsons. He said over and over, this is where he fell. Here's his handprints. This was not a suicide. And it looks like he has defensive, trying to get back in. This is what we know. And it is true. And those marks were there for a long time. I did ask Detective Lozano who was handling the case, please, can't we go and test that for Tommy's DNA? He goes, it'll be there forever. It never wears out.
You said Jessica, you meant slow, right?
Slow Police Department. Yes, you're right. Thank you.
So wait, take me back to, again, how they are not allowing you to pursue any more legal action.
Okay, so anyway.
This is all alleged. You're putting his flyers out and he's saying, I didn't do it.
Well, we have two things. We had the civil case. We had the criminal case. The civil case was dismissed. We had spent a fortune on it. There was looking like there was no way we were going to be able to prevail unless the police filed criminal charges, which we thought might happen. But then we found out not all that long later, they're not going to file it. And then the judge awarded him costs. Okay? We were told by the judge we had to pay his legal costs.
But David Knight, the serial predator.
Can you imagine that?
Pay his legal costs.
Yes. We agreed with his attorney.
That's what I was telling. That's what I was saying. It was $35,000. Okay?
And that was just a kick in the gut to me. I'm sorry.
And so I'm sorry, but $35,000 is a lot of money. The police are telling us they're not going to file the criminal case, and that was after we were told
all of this.
the civil case wasn't going to, if we had that information ahead of time, our civil case probably wouldn't have been dismissed. But now we're getting this $35,000 bill, and Hemphill offered us this choice. If we agreed not to file a civil lawsuit in the future, they would waive the $35,000. At the time, I'm sorry, $35,000 is a lot of freaking money.
You have nothing
And I didn't want
You
it
have
to go
nothing
into
to
his
apologize.
I'm sorry.
Pardon?
You have nothing to apologize for. That is disgusting.
It is.
It was, but
You can't
know,
fight for justice for your son.
when nobody was helping us at that point, everybody abandoned us.
So they became predators and cornered you, defending a predator.
And you got to remember, you're just being told your civil case is dismissed by some out-of-county judge saying you don't have any merit. Then a couple weeks later, the district attorney is saying, oh, we're not going to file any charges, but not telling you why. We didn't find out why till a couple months later. It was because the statute of limitations ran out. So we're feeling like really depressed. This is like Tommy dying all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the 3 years of us doing all this investigating, tracking down the witnesses ourselves, because the cops got nobody's name at the scene, and people offered their name, but they didn't get their name, and we have to track everybody down, and then nobody's cooperating with us. The bar's not cooperating. The police won't give us anything, and so we have to get court orders. Like I said, they ignore subpoenas. It's a waste of time.
But I think the key here is
so we were like really depressed and saddened. It was like a stab in the heart.
anyone would have taken that to help. But the key here is that the community and everyone listening right now, the onus is on them because they've taken away your power, and we need to give it back to you.
They did take away our power.
I guess in some ways I have not accepted that. We had a courtroom full of supporters, all wearing Justice for Thomas t-shirts. We had members of the press that have covered the story all along. And maybe in a way I haven't quite accepted that, but I guess you're right.
So what is the bright spot in all this? After 6 years of going to city council meetings, of which my wife was going way before me, and she was doing stuff to try to find out what the story was way before me, because I was such a friggin' train wreck for so long. And she was the power person who was putting flyers in the parking structures those first weeks when I couldn't even leave the house, and started going to city council meetings. She was gone way before I could do it. And all this effort we put out, and then finally they're going to put cameras in the parking structure and do some sort of barricades to prevent people from falling somewhere.
So you are saving lives.
Yeah,
We're saving lives
by doing this.
and
We
our
are.
and our
that's
flyers,
one of our biggest goals.
And our flyers have protected a couple guys from being victimized from him. And if we save 3 people from having their lives destroyed, because that's what happened. He destroys lives. And he doesn't only destroy their life, he destroys their freaking families and their friends and their teachers and like Tommy's guitar teacher.
And his teachers that came from, all of his elementary school teachers and the principal that came to his funeral, and one lady they made a video with his friends and teachers and Boy Scout leaders, etc. They all had wonderful things to see. This kills all of them. And when we see these people, because we see them in the community, they still are upset.
Their
They
hearts
cry.
are broken.
Their tears come out of their eyes. And I miss Tommy so much. 6 years of not being able to see him. I mean, that morning he made me coffee. I went and sat in my massage chair, and he brought a cup of coffee. It woke me up, and I think he brought the coffee in for himself, but he saw me sitting there and he put it right next to me. And I woke up smelling the coffee, and he had fallen asleep on the sofa. So then I thought, well, I'm gonna return the favor, and he brought it in my little Beatles cup. And I went to the kitchen, and in this Bernie Sanders cup, I brought his coffee. And he was still asleep on the sofa, so I went in my room. Did I know that was the last time I was ever going to see him? That was the last time I ever saw him. And Tommy was so thoughtful. you know? And I miss him so much. I didn't know. I took my mother-in-law to get a haircut, took her out to lunch, came home. Bill told me that he left with this guy. And I'm like, what guy? And he says, oh, he's going to go look at some artwork with this guy. And I said, oh, well, good. He made a friend. And, you know, and he says, yeah, but he advertised this big sale for his cactus nursery. And I'm watching his nursery. Tommy did $700 worth of business that day. You know, it was probably his first big kickoff day of doing so much business.
There's
He was quite the entrepreneur.
But there's no way you could have known.
No.
You have described one of the most dangerous, instrumental, psychopathic, sexual deviant that I've ever heard of, who is also able to have things expunged and navigate the legal system.
Oh, yeah, he's good at it. He knows how to, he's not stupid.
You can't do this fight alone.
First of all, what was it like to have Dr. Leslie Dobson here? Because I thought that was just, I love her fire. You and I, like we were just mentioning off the air, Mary Jane, like we have talked a lot over this over the years. And really to have her here and like, I have to imagine she's igniting you.
She is igniting me. And the great thing is that I feel validated. You know, I feel like somebody's actually listening and has experience with people like this, but she's validating what we have. And that just means so much to me.
Let me ask you, Dr. Dobson, in your clinical experience, what does someone like David Knight typically do next when they're not stopped?
I think they hone their skill, so they get to their prey faster. They lose stimulation, so the crime increases, it becomes more severe. Returning to the scene of the crime, keeping trophies, putting themselves in situations that they can feel stimulation occurs, but it increases.
I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that he's been by our house almost every year on Tommy's birthday.
So when you had mentioned that he had left dead animals, that he was taunting you, I think
I have pictures of the dead animals, and I sent them actually to our attorney, but I kept those pictures in my phone. Yeah. I'll send them to you.
It tells me that he's been doing this for a very long time, and he has something that gets him off, that gets his rocks off. And I'm not talking about masturbation or sexuality. It's that he likely needs a high level of risk and stimulation in order to feel anything. And without that, he feels dead. And that moment where he mimicked you crying when he realized, when you found out,
is that
Tommy,
what he was doing? I didn't understand what you were saying. Wow.
I think he realized in that moment, I don't look normal. This is what normal people with emotions do. I must do that too, so I don't look guilty.
Wow.
Because you said it was so odd for him to like go into this.
It was very odd. And then my husband said he turned himself into the victim. I couldn't really understand what he was doing.
Well,
but you're probably
you had
right.
a victim present. You had Tommy being the victim. Yeah. So it tells me that David's not that fucking smart, but he does have a craft and he's had time to hone the skill.
Leslie, do you believe there are people, not evil, but complicit, who knew something, felt something, but did nothing? And why do people do that?
Well, 100%. I think it doesn't take much for somebody to not want to risk their life or their livelihood. And I hope people walk away from this feeling empowered to speak up and find justice. But if it's not your personal story, it's very hard to be compassionate and empathic, especially in the world right now when we're spread so thin emotionally. We have to keep things close to home. We don't want to donate to people we don't know. But we have to bring that back. We have to bring that humanity back and that human connection back, and know that by listening and helping and even just supporting in the comments of social media, we bring the humanity and the justice back for Tommy, and we bring you guys back to a grounded state where you can live your lives.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, what should people be watching for in behavior long before something physical like ever happens?
Very similar to what was described with Tommy. The grooming starts very early on. So a psychopathic predator, especially a sexual predator, is going to surveil for a long time. They're going to make themselves important in the person's life. They're going to wedge themselves between the person and the person's family. So that then if there is a problem with the victim, they're going to turn to the perpetrator for guidance and advice. And that might sound weird, right? So then they're going to give gifts. They're going to compliment. They're going to make themselves seem like they're more important. And they're going to slowly build a wedge between the victim's family and the perpetrator. They're going to slowly build a wedge so that they can start to alter how the victim feels about the people they used to love and lean on. Yeah. And then they begin to love and lean on the perpetrator.
When institutions say, well, we don't have enough, but you see a clear clinical pattern, right? How do you navigate that chasm between what's provable and what's obvious?
Because the stories are the same amongst several individuals, that gives us our objective data. We see a pattern, and that is evidence. We don't need DNA to know that every victim had the same story and he did it the same way.
Yeah.
And I think lawyers fail a lot understanding that, because it's a very nuanced element of law. It's a niche. It's very new. It's hard to argue in court, and they shy away from it because, again, lawyers want to win. They're not going to take a case if they can't win. They get paid every 13 minutes.
What's something, maybe one thing about trauma, either the families or maybe even the communities, that people deeply underestimate that you see?
I think the phantom limb syndrome, where we look strong, but we don't have the closure. We still feel like the person's there because we don't know how they left. And even though we put on a face and we get through life, the pain inside doesn't find resolution until we have the external resolution and understanding.
I'm so curious what we might misunderstand about grooming, especially when it's happening with this guy in plain sight.
We want to see the good in people. And I think predators prey on that because the world is so dark. We don't want to believe that people have the capacity to do this. And until it's someone like me who is face to face with a sexual predator, cutting out faces out of a newspaper of children and masturbating with them, you don't understand it until you've seen it. And the world doesn't see it because we warehouse it. We can't put it on the news. It's too hard for people to digest. So you've got people like me who have seen it. You've got, child trafficking cops who have seen it. We've seen the children after it's happened. But we're too fucking delicate as a community to understand it. And we wouldn't survive if we really knew what was behind the scene.
Okay, so if David Knight is listening right now, we were talking earlier, your opinion is someone of his breakdown. He likely is. What would you say to him right now?
You're going to get caught eventually. You might as well turn yourself in now when you have any control, because you don't have the capacity to maintain this. Everybody gets caught at the end of the day. If there's any chance at redemption, it's now to come forward, to step up. As somebody who is trained in the psychological assessment of sexually violent predators at Atascadero State Hospital in the same fucking town as David Knight, but I walked out of that government taking it into civil litigation. I have all of the training that the government has, but now I can use it whenever I fucking want. And if he wants to sit down with me, I will do it. And David, I carry a gun 24/7.
I can't thank you enough, one, for coming to SlowCal, to home for us, right? For the Jodrys, for us here, to see you here. It means a lot. I know it means a lot to them, which means a lot to me because I have grown to really care about this family over the years. And thank you for being here and taking this on. And there's something about, I really loved our rapport, even when I first interviewed you on my show, your podcast, which is, we're going to give that a plug in a second, but thank you for bringing your fire to the story. It means a lot.
I think the take-home message is that no will never be an answer. And I don't care what a lawyer says. I don't care what police say. I don't care what a fucking politician says. We as a community can always rise above and get whatever the fuck we want if we have numbers.
Yes.
I like what she said. She tells it as it is because it's the truth. And the truth never changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming here, especially on a weekend, which I know, Mary Jane, is so heavy. And so it's a tough weekend for you. And
it is.
We're embarking as we record this. We're hours before, the 6th anniversary. We can't even imagine how that weighs on the both of you. So to always give me the time and to put a microphone in front of you, it just means a lot. And I love you guys.
Thank you. Yes, we do. And we love you too. Thank you.
Awesome.
We appreciate everything.
I wish we could get our Tommy back.
Yeah.
But our Tommy is just in my family's hearts and all the friends he had and everybody else. He lives on in their hearts.
Dr. Leslie Dobson, any final thoughts?
The world cares so much about Jeffrey Epstein right now. This is the same person. So if you care about the Epstein files being released, put some of that power and that vengeance towards this walking predator who has had his sexual offending status expunged and has numerous victims, and he will continue to gain victims. So give us a little bit of your Epstein pain, because that's an uphill battle that we will continue for a long time when we can find justice and closure with Tommy's case before.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
All right, for anyone listening that wants to learn more, get involved, or just stay awake to this story, please visit justiceforthomas.com. You'll find a full timeline, photos, case details, justiceforthomas.com. Also, we got links in the show notes to Dr. Leslie Dobson. DrLeslieDobson.com. Intentionally Disturbing is the name of her podcast. Add a .com onto that. And links to all this at your fingertips in the show notes. All right, what a story, huh? Man. I want to thank our friends for being Up and Adam and supporting local broadcasting. That is Life Elements. Here is why I believe in Life Elements. I've seen what they do. I've seen the healing. I've walked in, and without hesitation, Martha's handing me a sample or rubbing something on my elbow. You feel it. The care, the creativity, the magic, and every product backs it up. In addition to their spot in Atascadero, you could shop their products at the Hive in Arroyo Grande, the General Store downtown Paso, and of course, yes, lifeelements.com, where you can use the promo code ADAM and save 15%. But I encourage you to get to the store. Meet them. 7425 El Camino Real. Let them know you heard them on Up and Adam. Sweet O, they're in the back right corner. You can't miss the big sign, Life Elements. And check them out again online, lifeelements.com. This is what happens when good people make great things. Okay, onward with this week. A beautiful week. Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. Thanks to Josh and Chiasa Clapper from Tamber Winery, giving us the Lobro Studios at Tamber. Taste their world-class wines in the village of Arroyo Grande. Tamber, Timbre, tamberwinery.com. And thank you for being Up and Adam and checking in, connecting here every day, making us part of your day. It really, truly means a lot. Thanks for rating, reviewing, subscribing to the show wherever you listen to it. Sharing it with a friend helps a ton. Till tomorrow, I'm Adam Montiel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.